Video shop memories. Hello and welcome to this week's video. This week I want to take a slight detour from the usual and just talk about the humble video shop, which effectively no longer exists now, of course. I've done a few videos talking about like Doctor Who memories and stuff like that. This time around I also want to talk about my memories of the humble video shop, which was such a big part of our lives for such a long time and has now gone the way of the dinosaurs, like common sense, taste and comedy. Now obviously the video store was around when I was a kid. I wasn't really a member of any video stores up until basically around the time I turned 18. That was when I was in Australia. I don't remember video stores in the UK. I really don't. I don't think I rented anything from the time. I mean, my brother was probably renting them all at that point, and I just watched whatever he rented. But I basically became a member of the video store up the road, probably Video Easy or Blockbuster, in about '93, and that was when I started renting videos on my own. One of the ones I remember most is, of course, the 1974 horror film Black Christmas, which is probably my favourite horror movie, if not my favourite movie. As I've mentioned before, I have vague memories of Black Christmas in terms of listening to it as a little kid, pretending to be asleep on the sofa next to my mum and having them watch it. And I didn't watch it, I was listening to it, and just listening to it was enough to freak me out. And it was a movie I always wanted to kind of go back to. And finally I saw it on the shelf and I rented it and I absolutely fell in love with it. It became one of my favourite movies from the moment I saw it. Now, again, because I was turning 18, and so it wasn't just Black Christmas, it was horror movies in general that I kind of like borrowing horror books from the library, which I've talked about before. This is when I started getting all the horror movies out from the video store. Now, there was some horror movies I'd seen before. I mean, obviously I saw some things like the original Elm Street and Fright Night as a kid. Stuff like Stepfather and Link. My brother won on VHS. So it wasn't like I'd never seen any horror movies before. I was watching them probably younger than I should have done. But just in terms of being able to see all the ones I hadn't seen, and that my brother, for whatever reason, had never rented, and now it was my turn. Now the rest of the Elm Street movies, at that point, not counting anything from Wes Craven's New Nightmare onwards, I had seen. My brother had rented them and kind of pirated them and given me the set for Christmas. So I'd seen all of them. But one of the major kind of franchises that I hadn't seen was a lot of the Halloween movies. I'd seen Halloween 3. I think I'd seen Halloween 2 because I think they were on like BBC 2 in the early 90s, late 80s. So I'd seen them, but I hadn't seen 4 and 5. And that took me till about 1994 to see Halloween 4 and 5. And I rented them both together. And I absolutely loved them both. Because, I mean, I remember picking them up. And Donald Pleasance was in them. And Danielle Harris was in them. And I already knew Danielle Harris because she was on Roseanne in, like, 1993. So I was like, okay, I know these people. And I don't think I was even aware there was a Halloween 4 or Halloween 5, to be honest, because it wasn't like I bought any like horror magazines or anything like that. So I don't think I was even aware there was anything past 3 or any more Michael Myers past 2. So I was like, okay, and I love both of those movies, and I'm still very, very fond of both of them. It's clearer now that 4 is far superior to 5, but I still like 5. I would still take 5 over any Halloween movie made in this century, to be blunt. Sorry if that triggers you. But yeah, I mean, so that was a big thing for me, discovering a lot of these movies like that. Because I discovered movies again primarily through my brother. This was the time when I was discovering them for myself and going off on my own direction. Now, something else that I more or less discovered via the video shop was the Avengers. No, not Marvel, the proper Avengers. Patrick McNee, John Steed, that Avengers. Now, I discovered that in like 1996. Now, I'd seen a grand total of one episode. I saw it at the Doctor Who fan club in about 93. It was I can never remember the title. It's the one with the wacky races where they're all Dead Man's Treasure. Is that it? Where they're all running around in cars around the English countryside, following these clues to get to this treasure, and someone's trying to kill people along the way or something. I can never remember what the episode is. But that was the episode I saw at the fan club, and I liked it. I liked it more than I thought I would. But they never showed any more, and at that time it was like, well, where the hell can you go to get any more? God knows. And it was like 1996, and I was just perusing the video shop, as you did, and I saw the Avengers. I was like, oh wow. And so I got the first one out, and the first one that I got out was, because at that point, the VHS releases, what they did kind of one black and white episode and one color episode. So you had one Diana Rigg black and white, and season 4 with one season 5, which was in color. And so the first one I got was The Town of No Return and From Venus with Love, and I really enjoyed them both, especially The Town of No Return. That's still one of my actually favorite episodes. And they had more. They had about 3 or 4 more, and I went through them. And at that point, after that, I'd run out of them. I started going down to like the SA Video Warehouse in Adelaide and buying the ones that I could find. Of course, the only Tara King one that I could find was the one with the Game and They Keep Killing Steed on, which were good. I thoroughly enjoyed both of them. But it took me like another 20 years to see the rest of the Tara episodes, which is bonkers. Another of my video shop memories, I guess, would be the early 2000s, which is one of my favorite movies, which is the Swedish movie Show Me Love. Now, I'd never heard of that movie up until like about Christmas 2000. There was an article about it in like the, I don't know, Sunday Mail, Courier, something like that. I was down at my older brother's house, my eldest brother's house, and I was looking through the thing, and I read about that. I'm like, oh, that looks kind of interesting. But again, it was on at some art house cinema, and it wasn't even the art house cinema that I'd been to before, which I knew how to get to. It was in Adelaide. I had to catch trains and that, but I knew how to get to it. It was some other one that was even further away, and I'm like, well, there's no way I'm doing that. It'd take me like 3 hours to get there, 3 hours to get back. No. So it was like September, October-ish 2001, and I was hoping it would come out on video, and it did, and it did, and so I rented it. I absolutely loved it. I made my own copy. So good job I did as well, because it was like another 10 years before it came out on bloody DVD, and another 10 years after that before it finally came out on Blu-ray. So I felt entirely justified in making my own copy. Unfortunately, you know, the memories kind of start to sour. I don't really remember much in the 2000s. What I remember about the video shops is that in the 90s, which is primarily when I was renting, much like the cinema itself, I'd be going to the video shop basically every week, at least every couple of weeks. And there'd always be something in, and 9 times out of 10, it would be good. It either hadn't gone to the cinema, I hadn't gone to see it for whatever reason, maybe there was too much else on and I just didn't have the time. Or it was even some stuff that, again, did just straight to video. And 9 times out of 10, they'd be good, they'd be fun, and they'd be entertaining. And at some point in the 2000s, much like cinema, that started to drop off. Now, I moved up to Queensland in 2012, and we had two video stores here. There was a Blockbuster, and I think it was a Video Easy, not far from each other, like with walking distance between them. But I think it was like Blockbuster, and then there was a bunch of fast food things, and then there was Video Easy. And I was a member of both of them. Video Easy was the first to go, which was disappointing because I actually think it was the better of the two because it had more kind of obscure older stuff. But at a certain point, especially in the 2010s, going to the video store started to be kind of like a chore. because it was, I mean, I think it started before that, but it was really became endemic in the 2010s, where it was like there was nothing to rent. It was more and more that if there was something good, it would have gone to the cinema, and because there was so little going on in the 2010s, I would already have seen it at the cinema. And if I liked it, I'd be buying it on DVD or Blu-ray. So why would I need to rent it from the video store? And unfortunately, it became like the inverse of the 90s, in that if there was something that even looked interesting, which again was thin on the ground, and it hadn't gone to the cinema, I'd rent it, and 9 times out of 10, I'd be really disappointed. And it got to a point where I was going to this video shop like once every few months, if at all. And sometimes I wouldn't even be, I'd walk in and I'd look around and I'd walk out without anything because there was nothing there. It was stuff I'd seen at the cinema, stuff I already had, or stuff that I simply didn't look very interesting at all. And in most cases, when I rented them, they weren't. And it was very sad. I don't know when it was, whether it was 2017, 2018, 2019. It was sometime at that point. I think it's probably 2017. I forced myself to go to the video store. And I mean, it's not like it was a massive thing. It's not like now where I have to catch a bleeding bus to get to the cinema or anything. It was literally at the bottom of my street, basically. It was a 10-minute walk. But there was just, it had just gotten so boring that it was just like, And I went, and there was a sign on the door saying they were closing down in a couple of months or whatever. And that was the end of the freaking video store. And I think it took me a long while. It may have even been 3 or 4 years before I got a smart TV and was able to start streaming. Not that I do very much of that, but I couldn't even do it at the time because I didn't have a smart TV. And the TV was, I only bought the TV in like 2014, so I wasn't going to bloody well throw it away and get another one until it buggered, which it finally did in 2021. And then I got a smart TV and thought I'd try Netflix and what have you. But yeah, I mean, it's very sad, really. I loved the video store. It was like I was in the 90s. It was like going to the cinema. It was something you did basically every week, at the most every couple of weeks. And then at some point in the 2010s, it just started to become something you very rarely did, because when you did do it, it was usually a disappointment, and there was what you got wasn't worth the effort. And so it just ended up dying on its ass. It was very sad. I miss the video store, but I mean, its days are gone with streaming. And even if they did bring it back, what are they going to put them? What are they going to put in them? Just the same old crap I don't want to watch on streaming and don't want to go to the cinema for. Oh dear, it's quite sad. It is sad when you think about, being able to find those things, like finding Black Christmas and finding the Halloween sequels, finding the Avengers. It was lovely to find stuff like that you weren't even necessarily looking for. You were just seeing what was there, and it was great stuff. But like I said, it just ended up becoming, there's nothing to find, and even when something looks interesting, 9 times out of 10 it was just. Oh well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this rundown memory lane with a few of my fonder video shop memories and how sad it was when it all just died away like the rest of television these days and movies practically. I should retitle this The Death of Hollywood. Anyway, that's it for now. Talk to you again soon.